How's it going, guys? Nintendo Enthusiast here. I wanted to do an update video on my Hori GameCube Battle Pad controller for the Nintendo Switch. Now, the title says 2 years, but it's been about 19 months, so almost 2 years. So I've been using this controller off and on, mainly with Smash Brothers, because there's not a lot of games where you can really utilize a GameCube controller on Switch. Now, don't get me wrong, it'll work with most games, but it makes the most sense with Smash. I mainly pull these bad boys out whenever there's a bunch of people over and we all play Smash together, which has been quite a bit over the past 19 months. So I'll start things off with durability. They still work perfectly fine, no sticky buttons, no buttons that stopped working. The controller in general still works, unlike the Power A GameCube controller, which I'll probably do an update video on, that I used to really like, but after 2 years using those, there's a lot of issues. But as for the Hori GameCube controller, it's lasting, so that's good news. Another important aspect you might be wondering about are drift issues. Now, I know drift is a problem with Joy-Con and Joy-Con-like third-party attachments, but I'm not sure how common it is in controllers. But either way, fear not, I haven't had any problems with drift, or like I mentioned before, with any of the buttons or anything like that. Now, I'll be sure to add on my original full video at the end of this, but basically what I wanted to get across in this video is that this is the best GameCube-like controller on Switch. It's not wireless, and it doesn't have the R and L triggers that the original GameCube controller has, and the modern Power A GameCube controller has, but it wins in every other category. It's more durable, it's more comfortable, the sticks and face buttons feel better. I really recommend the Hori GameCube controller over all the other ones on the market right now. Now, on to my original review. Enjoy. So right off the bat, one thing I love is that this controller is compatible with every game that allows you to use the Switch Pro controller. So yes, you can use it for Fortnite, you can use it for Zelda, you can use it for anything, and there's a lot of games that feel great with it. And as I'm sure you guessed, there's a lot of games that make no sense with it as well. Like playing Wolfenstein 2 with this thing was damn near impossible. It just felt so weird. Using this controller with games like Hollow Knight and whatnot, it just is awesome. Like the A button's perfect, so like if you play a game that uses the A button a lot, using this controller with a game like that makes a lot of sense. Now, one thing that might turn a lot of people away is the wire, but it's a decent length. I mean, I can't remember the exact length. I will put that on the screen right now, but it doesn't really bother me because it's long enough. It's not like this terrible NES controller. This thing is a bit ridiculous. I mean, don't you think? It's like 1 foot long. Now, one thing that surprised the hell out of me is that the form factor of these controllers are almost like identical to the GameCube controller. This is my memories happening in front of me. Like the GameCube controller is one of my favorite controllers of all time, and this feels so much like it. And they even added these little grips right here, which of course are not on the original GameCube controller, but these feel so good. Like, of course they had to get rid of the triggers, but these triggers feel great. Like they click perfect, and the form factor is perfect. I love this controller. But anyway, they also added a turbo button right here. You can map it to any button on the controller by just pressing both. I would have preferred rumble over the turbo button, but I mean, that probably added a lot of costs in manufacturing and whatnot, whereas the turbo button probably did not. Of course, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, there is no triggers, which might make a lot of people sad, especially since the GameCube triggers are still my favorite triggers out of all of like the Xbox, PS4. The GameCube triggers are still the most satisfying to press down, in my opinion, and they are not on this controller. But there's no reason of having them, like I said, because there's no games on Switch that even offer trigger support. So that's out, but the D-pad is bigger, which is great. You want a bigger D-pad. The original D-pad was tiny, so this one is better in my opinion. And it's almost the size as the Switch Pro controller D-pad. It's maybe just a little bit smaller, and it feels so much better than the original GameCube controller, like without a doubt. I mean, you're not going to want to use this controller for a game that's really like a side scroller that needs a D-pad, but at least they went the extra mile and added a bigger one. It just makes sense. Other than that, I mean, the way these two look, of course, I got the Legend of Zelda and Mario themed ones. I absolutely adore them. Like the blue back of the Mario one makes so much sense, whereas the Zelda one's more sleek and looks more stylish. This one's more zany and fun, and the front looks so good. Like I just love everything about these controllers. I'm sorry if I keep spouting that over and over. I'm just so excited to use these more, and especially in Smash Brothers. Of course, I did get used to this controller with, well, not this one per se, but the Wii U Pro controller I used in Smash 4, and I got used to it, so this one's gonna feel like supernatural as well. But I might end up going back to the GameCube controller just because, you know, it's perfect for Smash Brothers. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. Now, one thing you might be interested in knowing is that I plugged this into my Mac, and my Mac did not recognize it at all. I tried using it with like Steam and a Dolphin emulator, and it was not responsive. Oh, and lastly, one thing before I forget, these sticks clicking down they just feel so satisfying, and it's so funny, like clicking down a C-stick. I never thought that would be a thing in my life, but this tiny little nub is hilarious clicking down. And it's even more hilarious using this nub in a first-person shooter like Wolfenstein 2. But hell, if you can get used to it, it's not that bad. So that's all I really got to say, guys. I really recommend this controller. Between the form factor being almost identical, hell, probably identical to the GameCube controller, and the added like features like the turbo button and the larger D-pad, I really recommend it. I recommend this over the official Nintendo one, which I'm pretty sure you can only use with Smash Brothers, whereas this one you can use it with pretty much anything. So a high recommendation here from Nintendo enthusiasts. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you plan on picking up these Hori GameCube controllers? I believe they're $24.99. If not, I will put it on the screen right now. And I'm just so excited to use these controllers to play Smash Brothers. But yeah, let me know everything you think down in the comment section below. I will talk to you guys later.